Very good evening to all the intellectuals assembled once again in the today's digital platform. Wish you all healthy and safe along with your near and dear during unforeseen pandemic COVID-19. ICMA Saktidhar Singh, Chairman, Professional Development Committee of Bhubaneswar Chapter, warmly welcome you all again to the today's webinar on the relaxation exemption by MCA SEBI DPE in wake of COVID-19, organized by other chapters in association with other chapters at Odisha, for time during this pandemic situation, to e-learn and relearn to our members, students, and stakeholders. I heartily welcome to all the senior members, past president of the institute, past chairman of the chapter and the IRC, CMA Mukesh Chube, Chairman of the chapter, CMA Ajay Kumar Savwal, Secretary of the chapter, and all other professional colleagues in the managing committee, academician, representative of press and electronic media, students, and stakeholders who have joined in the today's webinar, and esteemed members of the chapter and chairman of various chapters. Today we have with us eminent personality dignitaries, CMA Dr. V. Murali, Council Member and Chairman Corporate Laws Committee, the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, who will grace and address as our chief guest. CMA Niranjan Mishra sir, Council Member and Chairman, Indirect Taxation Committee, the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, who will grace and address as our special guest. Today's resource person is CS Bharat Kumar Sahu, Additional Company Secretary, NALCO, Bhubaneswar. We are eagerly waiting from his on most vital topic on this occasion for all of us, that is relaxation exemption by MCA, SEBI and DEP in wake of COVID-19. It is my great privilege to introduce our today's guest. Probably we know all the guests and resource person. However, I am highlighting in brief for the information of newcomers. Our chief guest, CMA Dr. V. Murali sir, is a fellow member of our institute. He is a practicing professional of Mrs. Victor Grace and Co. Chennai. He is the chairman of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Southern India Regional Council. He was elected to the Council of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India for the term 2019-23 and take the responsibility as chairman, corporate laws committee and members of many committees of the council such as direct and indirect taxation, CAT, members of facilities, members in industries, management accountant, board of advanced studies, cost accounting standards, international auditing standard, board committee, career counseling committee, and finance committee. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation, and it will be pleasure for all of us from listening from you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our today's resource person, CS Bharat Kumar Sahu, sir. He is an associate member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India and graduate in law from Utkal University. Sri Sahu sir has more than 25 years work experience in corporate sectors, handling many key issues, IPO, right issue, merger, external commercial borrowing, split and bonus issues, buyback of shares, OFS, etc. Presently, he is working as Additional Company Secretary of NALCO Limited, a Government of India enterprise. Sri Sahu sir was Secretary of the Bhubaneswar branch of Company Secretaries of India for the year 2007 and 2008, Vice Chairman for the year 2009 and 2010. He has addressed many press conference interview with Kanak TV and other electronic channels. Sri Sahu sir is a guest faculty in the certification course provided by the Odisha Capital Market and Enterprise Limited, formerly Bhubaneswar Stock Exchange Limited. He was also a guest faculty in Keith School of Management. Sri Sahu sir is a badminton player and represents NALCO corporate team in badminton tournaments. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. We all are waiting to listen from you. Hope a nice deliberation interaction will be held. Our special guest, CMA Niranjan Mishra sir, is well known to all of us. For the information of stakeholders, I am highlighting brief about him. CMA Niranjan Mishra sir is a fellow member of the Institute of Cost Accountants India, and a practice cost accountant and senior partner of Niran and Co. He has more than 25 years working experience in the practical field. He was the past chairman of ICI Bhubaneswar chapter and associated with CMA profession more than 28 years. He was elected to the Central Council for the Institute for 2015 and 2019 and taken charge as Chairman Regional Council and Chapter Coordination Committee and Taxation Committee and members of many more important committee of the Council. Mr. Sir is again elected to Council for the term 2019 and 2023 and now leading as Chairman Indirect Taxation of the Council. He is very much friendly, acceptable to all of us and mentor guide for all of us young professionals. Thank you, sir, for your wholehearted support to the chapter.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I would like to request all the participants for continuing same sorts of support and cooperation in future events through digital platform. We are actually delayed for some technical problem, which will be regretted. We are committed for conducting events for the members, students, and stakeholders in digital platform from during pandemic at the extent possible. Your participation definitely will be a source of inspiration for conducting more and more events on various contemporary topics, which is need for all of us to update our knowledge banks. Wish you all healthy and safe life. Thank you. Jai Jagannath. Now I would like to request CMA Mukesh Chobe, Chairman of the chapter, to address. CMA Mukesh Chobe.
Thank you, Sakti sir. Thank you, Sakti sir.
Thank you.
A very warm good evening to all of the galaxy of intellectuals present on the today's event on virtual platform. I am deeply regretted for the inconvenience due to starting the program late. At the outset, I pray before Lord Jagannath for all of our safety during this unparalleled situation of COVID-19. Before starting, I would like to share a quote. फिर आई एक बीमारी जिसकी चपेट में दुनिया सारी पड़ गई ये सब पे भारी आइसोलेशन है जनहित में जारी लापरवाह हुए तो आफत आएगी छुट्टियां समझ घूमे तो जान जाएगी इसलिए सजाग रहिए सतर्क भी हाथ नहीं साथ दें और खुद के साथ सबको बचाएं डियर जनता स्वर्गवासी होने से अच्छा है कुछ दिन के लिए एक बार एकांतवासी हो जाओ इसमें आपका और सबका भला है स्टे होम स्टे सेफ एंड विद दिस मोटो to keep our members and stakeholders safe, Bhubaneswar chapter have not stopped during this COVID-19 situation. Instead, have find opportunities within the problem so that we are trying our level best to update our members and stakeholders with the help of this digital platform. I, CMA Mukesh Chaube, Chairman of ICI Bhubaneswar chapter, feel privileged to welcome you all reduction exemption by MCA and DP organized by this chapter in association with all other chapters at Odisha. My special thanks and deep gratitude on behalf of Bhubaneswar chapter as well as other chapter of Odisha to respected chief guest on the occasion, CMA Dr. V. Murli Sir, Council Member and Chairman Corporate Law Committee of our institute, CMA Niranjan Mishra Sir, Council Member and Chairman India Taxation Committee of our institute, my mentor and guide also, and CS Bharat Kumar Sahu Sir, Additional Company Secretary of Nalco Limited, the resource person on today's occasion. My hearty thanks to CMA Ajay Sambal, the youngest and energetic secretary of the chapter, and CMA Satyendra Singh Sir, the dynamic chairman PD committee of the chapter, and other professional colleagues in the management committee along with our staffs. My special gratitude to both Murli Sir and Bharat Sahu Sir for the love and affection shown to our CMA fraternity and associating with us once again today in this digital platform. I also convey hearty thanks to the esteemed chairman of Talchera Angul chapter, CMA Antarama Acharya Sir, chairman of Sambalpur chapter, CMA Hiro Chandra Nanda Sir, chairman of Katak Jagat Singhpur Kendrapada chapter, CMA Lalit Kumar Mishra Sir, chairman of South Odisha chapter, CMA Prashant Kumar Pani Sir, and chairman of Raulkela chapter, CMA Praveen Nigam Sir, and managing committee members of respective chapters for their association as co-host on this digital platform. Esteemed members, CMA members, faculties, students, and stakeholders at PAN Odisha who have joined this digital platform. For kind information of our guests and participants, I would like to highlight that Bhubaneswar chapter is only chapter in Pan India which is parallelly conducting series of webinars and webinars with our institute for its member and stakeholders for updating their knowledge bank during this contagious situation of novel coronavirus. And we are the only chapter Pan India who have started oral coaching for its students on digital mode from 15 July 2020, keeping the larger interest of students. And dear friends, the global outbreak of coronavirus is an unprecedented event that has led to lockdown and unexpected restrictions on the public as well as corporate sector across the world. In order to control its spread, Government of India
Hello.
Hello, Mukesh ji.
Okay, connection. There is connection problem. Hello.
holding board meeting with physical presence of directors under approval. Under approval, the annual financial statement, board report, consequent such meeting may be held through video conferencing, and they have taken reduced compliances like no additional fees for late filing, the prescribed interval period for holding meeting of board, CARO applicability for financial 2020-21 instead of 1920, relaxation in attendance of independent director meeting, and many more. In current scenario of lockdown and restriction imposed, the temporary relaxation will enable companies to avoid penalties on account of various unavoidable delay in meeting their regulatory compliances. Our research person Bharat Thausar will deliberate in detail in the knowledge sharing session. Without wasting much of your precious time, I request CME Niranjan Mishra sir to address. We have tried and trying also for overlapping any technical difficulties in this virtual platform. If any difficulty is found, kindly bear with us and suggest measures to overcome it in future. Thanking you. Jai Jagannath.
Good evening. The chief guest of the occasion, CMA Dr. V. Murli sir, my colleague in the council and my mentor also in the council, because I have learned a lot of things from him when he joined the council 1 year back. The chairman, Professional Development Committee, CMA Satyadhar Singh, CMA Mukesh Chaubey, chairman of the chapter, most dynamic chairman. And under his dynamic leadership, the chapter is moving forward in the digital platform. All the captains, torchbearers of Odisha chapters, Sambalpur, Anugul, Kota South Odisha, Jajpur, Keonjhar, and my dear participants, those are attending this program on the virtual platform. Indeed, it was a great endeavor from the chapter side when this world was suffering from the pandemic COVID-19 and including our country and also state. So we thought, let us go on serving the nation, serving the stakeholders, serving the participants, my members, and all the students in the digital platform, so that they will not feel that they are alone, and we are always with them. So with this professional spirit, we have started this platform, digital platform, in continuing the programs, webinars, and also 2 days back we have started oral coaching in the digital platform. So this is the benefits of the chapters, students. Those are staying in Odisha, let us take the benefits of the digital platform. So join hands with the chapters endeavor and attend the program. And today, due to this technical glitches, the program is delayed. So without wasting more time, I am handing over this session to Murli sir, who is the chief guest of the occasion. He is a very he's a expert and has a lot of exposure in different fields, not in the corporate law. Corporate law, he is basically on the pure direct tax. So, but since he is holding the corporate law committee of the Institute of Court Accountants of India, so let us listen something from the Murli sir. And he is so renowned that he can speak on any subjects. But today is the chief guest of the occasion. So, Mr. Bhatta Sahu sir, he is not he is very new face to the chapter. I think this is the second time he's come to the chapter to speak on the topic. And I request Murli sir to address the participants. Over to Murli sir, please. Murli sir, please. Sir, unmute your mic, sir. Murli sir, unmute your mic and start.
As per the schedule, I'm supposed to give my address after presentation of the speaker.
Yes.
But thanks to Niranjan Mishraji's request, let me share with all of you my appreciation for the Bhubaneswar chapters for organizing this excellent program. That is a current program. In fact, it is the need of the hour. Relaxation, exemption by MCA, SEBI and DPE in the wake of COVID-19. And of all the three, the MCA guidelines are very, very important because it is applicable for all the companies. When it comes to the SEBI, of course, it is restricted to listed companies. When it comes to, I request the panelist to unmute.
1 minute. Okay, sir. Sure.
So, of all the three organizations, MCA, SEBI and DPE, that MCA relaxation, it is applicable to all the companies. And when it comes to the SEBI, the listed entities, the disclosure norms. When it comes to the DPE, Department of Public Enterprises, probably it is more of a benevolent provisions, how the migrant workers should be treated, what facilities you must give to them, and how we should contain our COVID by providing the shelter, by providing permanent residence for him, even if the rent is not paid, then how the landlord has to waive that, and why no deduction should be made from the labor's account. All those aspects have been covered in DPA. And these provisions of MCA, relaxation provisions by SEBI and relaxation provision by DPE, all with the angle of passion with compassion. You must be compassionate. See, one is regulatory challenges are there. Then regulatory filing, there is a regulation, there is a problem. And the physical meeting of the directors, physical filing, physically sending the report, annual reports, all those aspects have been very, very minutely, they have picked up the relevant sections and they have presented it. What is the role of the professionals like CMA? It is possible, while you go through the Companies Act 2013, there may be still certain challenges, there may be certain limitations because of COVID situation. We have to point out. That's why the circulars also continuous. Not only they are given in March, again April, again subsequent circulars they have given. The reason is they try to whatever the overcome the challenges and the extension of time. Originally thought it is 1 month, 2 months, or June they would have given. Something will be December, something will be September. All those aspects. The reason is it is continuing. There is a physical mobility challenges are there. So the normal functioning of the board, the normal functioning of the shareholders, all those aspects, it is very difficult to follow, like giving advertisement in the paper or all those aspects. really posing certain tough thing to follow. So these regulations are there for the protection of the stakeholders, no doubt about it. And this awareness creation, what we have to do, what is the role of the professionals is that we are whatever the circular is there, we have to absorb, assimilate, and then we have to pass it on to all our clients. And if you are in the industry, the entire team who is working in the finance side, we should share it so that they will be clear about what all the relaxations are there, whatever the beneficial provisions are there, what all the exemptions are there, what all the exceptions are there, what is the precautions and pitfalls is there, what type of humanitarian attitude we must have towards the migrant workers, our laborers, all those aspects, 360-degree view it is. If you consider all the three, one is MCA, another is a SEBI, the third one is a DPE. If you see, it is a 360-degree view you will be getting it actually. So what is originally thought by the SEBI as a disclosure requirements, there are, when the board meeting has to be conducted, what should be the period should be between one board meeting to another board meeting. Even the small thing, 120 is there, you make it to 180. And whatever the CARO applicability is postponed by one more year difficulty. NDAS, the consolidation of accounts, a standalone should be, it is enough whenever you have insurance or banking as your subsidiary, if your business. So minutely. And since we are signing many of the companies, many of the balance sheets, we know certain challenges. And what we thought, how to fulfill, we will think in the COVID situation, immediately that will be included. So like that, each and individual provisions of the Companies Act, they have meticulously gone through the MCA, SEBI and all. What is impracticable to follow? What is difficult to follow? Where there should be a relaxation in terms of filing the document, convening the meeting, convening of AGM. And at least for that period, that whatever our financial year, what is involved, up to December, up to September, certain occasions, up to 30th June. So all those aspects have been identified and they have given like a codified one as such. So it is the duty of the professionals like us to pass those information to our clients, to pass the thing to our department people, if you are in employment, if you are in service actually, so that everyone get to know about it. There should not be any communication gap. This is what important. In fact, a lighter vein I want to tell this. Once a fly-by-night operator was arrested by the police. Then the police arrested him because he ran away with the investor's money. That owner has been ran away with the investor's money. So they was arrested. Then the police is interrogating him. So why you ran away with the investor's money? Are you really a blade company? How you ran away actually? Then he said, sir, I never, only my accountant has guided me like that. Then the accountant was arrested. See, why you advised your owner to run away with the investor's money? Sir, he said, sir, I always advised our CFO, CEO, everybody, I always advise. If I have to follow the going concern concept, that is what in accounts, that is the basic principle is going concern concept. I advise them. But he wrongly understood and went along with the concern lock, stock and barrel. It is a wrong understanding, wrong communication gap. What I am understanding, in that spirit, he has not understood it. That should not happen. So when our practicing company secretary is presenting it, it is a culmination of all circulars, relaxation, guidelines of all the three institutions and make it present. We have to take the juice of it, and what is relevant for our clients, we have to pass it on so that ultimately there should not be any communication gap. The role of CMAs, especially in the compliance of the company law provisions, need not be overemphasized. After the amendment in the Companies Act 1956, 2013, Amendment Act, it is very clearly accountant definitions we have come at least for the purpose of internal audit. Now, the internal control mechanism, the internal process, guiding the management, all those aspects, it is our job actually. It is not a question of only presentation, It is a question of continuous guidance and hand-holding the management. It is the role of CMAs actually. For that, we must understand, at least in the critical period, in background of COVID situation, COVID 2019 situation, this pandemic, everyone has to collectively put our efforts. Here we have to put awareness creation. That is our effort. What is CMA? CMA has to do awareness exercise, understand the spirit of the law, understand the provisions, understand the relaxation, exemptions, what really is given, to what extent we can go use the relaxation, and how to make the best use of the intended provisions and pass it on to our clients and pass it on to the organizations where we are serving. So they will be comply with the thing, they understand the challenges, how to overcome that, then what all the government has given. And from the institute perspective, it is a two-way. From the members, we have to understand what all other challenges are there. Anything inadvertently omitted to be included. What all other sections which is difficult to follow. Sometimes people say cost audit report, extension of time. That is probably sometimes there can be a omission. What is our role? Our role as a chapter or as a regional or in the central is to collect all those whatever the feedback we are getting it and present it in a Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Sir, these are all other provisions. If it is included, it will mitigate our problems. It will serve our purpose. That is the duty of regulatory body for CMA profession like us. We have to give to the regulator, company regulator, that is MCA, we have to do that. So ultimately, the corporate sector will be benefited and all the listed companies will be benefited. Even the migrant workers, those people with their benefit, certain DPE circulars have been given, they will be benefited actually. I appreciate, in fact, I have to really appreciate our Niranjan Mishra ji, my colleague in the Central Council, for his energy, always positive energy, always proactive energy, always result-oriented energy, always ensure things would happen in a particular way, means he will do it like that. That type of positive attitude augurs very well for this chapter, this Bhubaneswar chapter, because that is an infectious enthusiasm. So as a council colleague, when we meet, I am able to derive from him this type of positive energy. When continuously staying there, Jagannath, Puri Jagannath is there one side, and a professional side, our Niranjan Mishra ji is there. This combination is augur well for the Bhubaneswar and all the chapters in the state of Odisha, and it will be augur well for our entire CMA profession. I once again thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity, an excellent opportunity to participate in today's program, which is a very current topic, which is the in thing actually, and due to inviting a practicing company secretary who is day to day, he is seeing the regulatory compliance, and such a person coming and addressing, holding such a big position, and he is sharing the pearls of wisdom emanated out of his practical experience, which he is sharing. Definitely, it's a great opportunity, and many of our doubts, many of our things could get clarified in the open session as well, actually. So the entire program has been organized in a very crystal clear way, actually. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I once again thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your nice deliberation and gracious presence in our webinar. Now, I would like to request CS Bharat Kumar Sahu, sir, Additional Company Secretary, NALCO, kindly address, sir. Bharat Kumar Sahu, sir. Visible.
Yeah.
Sir.
Okay. Basically, sir, three segments as we discussed. That it will be one, relaxation or exemptions by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, relaxations exemptions by SEBI, and relaxation exemption by the Department of Public Enterprise. The basic idea is that when it is a company per se, means a company registered under the Companies Act, we need to look into the various relaxations, exemptions given by Ministry of Corporate Affairs during this pandemic time. And now we will be going through all these relaxations, exemptions given by Ministry on different dates, either by notifications or by circular, so that the corporates can keep on filing their documents or can make use of the extended time for filing of the documents. The second segment we will be discussing on the exemptions by SEBI. Basically, that is for listed companies, means one step further. The companies which are already listed on the stock exchange, for those companies, whatever the relaxations, exemptions that has come through SEBI, that we will be discussing. And the third segment, that is basically a very limited segment, that is a DP, Department of Public Enterprise, is for all the listed CPSEs, Central Public Sector Enterprises. The DP relaxations will be applicable only to the listed CPSEs. But let's start immediately with the relaxations given by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The very first notifications came in the on the 19th March 2020, where Ministry relaxed the restrictions of holding the board meeting and audit committee meeting through video conferencing. You all must be knowing, sir, that there are restrictions on the Companies Act for certain items not to be dealt or not to be transacted through video conferencing, like the approval of the financial statements, the approval of board report, the approval of prospectus, any discussion, deliberation on merger, amalgamation. These are quite a few transactions, quite a few agenda items which are restricted from dealing through video conferencing. But now, Ministry of Corporate Affairs has relaxed those activities, and in fact, now the meetings through VC or the OAVM, that is other audio visual means, has become order of the day. So any items, irrespective of the earlier restrictions, now can be transacted, can be discussed through meetings held on video conferencing. That was the first relaxations given by MCA on 19 March. The period of the relaxation was up to 30th June 2020 initially, but again through another notification on 23rd June 2020, now Ministry has further extended it up to 30th September 2020. That means up to September 2020, all such items or irrespective of any item, the meeting can be conducted through VC. The second circular came on 23rd March 2020. In fact, what Dr. Murli sir was telling or hinting about the kind of life the labor, daily workers, or the daily wage earners they are doing, or they are going to cope up with the situation COVID. So what the government did, they came out with a circular on 23rd March allowing the corporates for spending on CSR funds for various activities under Schedule 7. In fact, Ministry through this circular made a very liberal and holistic approach on healthcare, including the preventive healthcare, sanitation, and disaster management to be covered, which means corporates can make use of their CSR funds on all these activities, and it will be an admissible expenditure on CSR. There was another notification on 28th March 2020. In fact, on this notification, the PMs, that Prime Minister's National Relief Fund, appearing in Schedule 7, was replaced with a new fund that was Prime Minister's Citizen Assistance and Relief in Emergency Situation Fund. And in brief, it was called as PM Care Fund. The idea behind this one is that now corporates, in case they are not in a position to spend money or take care of different activities for this to meet this COVID challenge, then they can straight away they can donate to PM CARES Fund, and it will still be eligible or admissible as CSR expenditure. Another circular, in fact, ministry kept on working on different aspects and different issues so that the corporate should be in a position to meet different challenges. Accordingly, one circular came on 24th March 2020, where SEBI came out with a fresh start scheme. In fact, what generally we call it here as Sarvakshama Yojana. So it is a similar type of initiative from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And through this fresh start scheme, in fact, Ministry hinted that there will be no additional filing fee for late filing of documents, returns during the moratorium period, that is between 1/4/2020 to 30th 9 September 2020. In fact, we will be discussing more detail about this CFSS, that fresh start scheme. But that was the initial declaration by ministry on the circular on 24th March. Then ministry gave another relaxation for holding the board meeting, and the gap between the two board meetings were extended by 60 days. The original provision is that there should not be a gap of more than 120 days between two board meetings, but that was extended by another 60 days. So 120 days became 180 days. That means two board meetings, or the gap between two board meetings, can be up to 180 days. And this relaxation was given till 30th September 2020. So up to 30th September 2020, board meetings taking place by corporate can have a bigger gap, that is more than 120 days. All must be knowing, sir, MCA had already notified company's auditor's report order 2020, CARO 2020, which was scheduled to be effective for the year 2019-20, but due to this COVID pandemic, it was rescheduled to be applicable from financial year 2020-21. Schedule 4 of the Companies Act, there is a requirement of holding at least one meeting of independent directors where the company is having independent directors. But through this circular, ministry relaxed or waived the requirement of holding at least one meeting of independent directors in the year 1920. A big relaxation came to the corporates, to the companies who have accepted the deposits, public deposit from under the Companies Act 2013. And in fact, if you see the provisions, there is a requirement of creating deposit repayment reserve of 20% of the deposit amount maturing the year that should be deposited by 30th April. And accordingly, any deposit amount that is maturing during the year 2020-21, for which the amount to be deposited, the deposit repayment reserve to be created by 30th April 2020, got extended up to 30th June 2020. In fact, it further got extended, but initial relaxation was up to 30th June 2020. Likewise, there was another requirement for the corporates who have issued debentures, and the requirement is to invest or deposit at least 15% of the amount of debentures maturing in specified method of investment or deposit before 30th April. In fact, and again for the year 2021, the amount was supposed to be deposited by 30th April 2020. Minimum 15% of the amount maturing on account of debentures. But again, this date was also extended up to 30th June 2020. these two relaxation, one that what we discussed about this deposit repayment reserve, and another one that is the for investment or deposit of 15% on the amount to be matured on debentures. These two relaxations further get extended to 30th September 2020 in another circular that was issued by MCA on 19th June 2020. Similarly, a new provision had come last year. All must be aware that for every newly incorporated company, they need to give a declaration of commencement of business by a newly incorporated company within 180 days. Means any new company need to give a declaration of commencement of business within 180 days from date of incorporation. This 180 days requirement was further extended by additional 180 days. Means in total, it is now 360 days for all the companies which are recently they have been incorporated or they have been set up. There is a requirement under Section 149 of the Companies Act that there should be a minimum residency for at least one director of a company in India for a period of 182 days as per the provisions of the Act, but that was relaxed for the financial year 2019-20. That means even if no director has the minimum residency in India for a period of 180 days, still then it will not be viewed as a violation of the provisions under the Companies Act. Yeah. So what I was telling about the CFSS scheme that came on 24th March, but a detailed circular came on 30th March 2020 with a nomenclature, Company Test Start Scheme, CFSS 2020. A beautiful scheme for all the corporates and basically for all the defaulting companies who have failed to file different returns, documents, or any other information with ministry in the past. So this is a good scheme for them to make themselves compliant company. The scheme commenced on 1st April 2020 and the scheme is valid up to 30th September 2020. This means all the defaulting company need to take the opportunity or need to avail the opportunity to make themselves compliant by filing all the documents or the informations which they have failed to file in the past. And in those cases, the company need to pay only the normal filing fee and no additional filing fee for the belated documents or for the belated filing. Beautiful scheme for all the corporates across the country. And this immunity from launching any prosecution or proceedings or imposing penalty shall be provided, which means if at all any prosecution has been launched against the company or any proceedings has taken or initiated by any adjudicating officer of ministry against any company, so that can be immunized, that can be immune by the ministry under this CFSS scheme. And any other consequential proceedings, but one thing here, that any consequential proceeding is not covered under the scheme. It means, for example, suppose a company has come out with a issue of shares, let's say a private placement, where the provisions say the number of LOT should not be more than 49, and the company has, let's say, for example, the company has come out with private placement by allotting shares more than 49 people, and the company has not filed the return of allotment in past 3. Here, in this example, we found 2 default. In fact, 2 non-compliances. One, the company has violated the provisions by issuing the shares to more than 49 people. That is one violation of the Act. And another one is that the company has not yet filed the past 3 form, that is for return of allotment. So this CFSS scheme say, as per the scheme, the second one, the latter one, that is about the not filing of the documents is immune. Means only the company can file the past 3 form with only normal filing fee with the MCA, but the other consequence to more than 49 people is not covered or not coming under the scope of CFSS scheme. So corporates where there is any default should be very aware that they must take note of this particular circular, that any belated filing or any document that has not yet been filed can now be filed, and the opportunity can be availed under the CFSS 2020 scheme. Any appeal, if at all the company has filed any appeal against the court order or the order of any adjudicating officer relating to this delayed or not filing of any statutory filing, those appeal needs to be withdrawn first before applying for immunity certificate under the CFSS scheme. That is also one precondition under the CFSS scheme. But then ministry has clarified the scheme, saying that this scheme will not be applicable to companies against which final notice for striking off has already been initiated. That means if a final notice has been issued by MCA for striking of the company, then this scheme cannot be availed. Likewise, any application that has been filed for action of striking off of name, then that company cannot avail this CFSS scheme benefit. Company which have already amalgamated under section 232, 234, those companies cannot avail this benefit. Application which have been filed for obtaining dormant status under 455, then those company also cannot avail this benefit. So also any vanishing company, if MCA has already declared any company as vanishing company, then that company also cannot avail this particular benefit under CFSS scheme. Otherwise, a beautiful scheme during this pandemic from ministry for all the defaulting companies to saturate their filing of documents with ministry. A big relaxation came for holding of any EGM, extraordinary general meeting, or any without holding any extraordinary general meeting. If any item that needs to be passed through postal ballot, then a circular giving relaxation on this aspect was notified, was issued on 8th April 2020, basically to accommodate the request of the companies who were planning for any extraordinary general meeting or transacting any item through postal ballot. The circular give this particular relaxation that any that passing of special or ordinary resolution can be done through video conferencing or other audio visual means. The EGM may be convened if considered unavoidable only through VC. That means no physical EGM. The meeting has to be through VC or OAVM, that is other audio visual means. Convenience of persons staying in different time zone need to be considered while deciding the time for the EGM. That means if the company is having shareholders abroad in the, overseas, then the company need to fix such a time that the person should be in a convenient time to attend the meeting through VC or OAVM. So different time zone needs to be considered while fixing the time for the EGM through VC. The company, if providing the facility or conducting the meeting through VC, then they must ensure that there is two-way participation for putting questions by shareholders. So it should not be one-way traffic. There should be two-way participation for putting the questions by shareholders, and the facility must have provision to accommodate at least 1,000 people. And when we are computing or when we are making provision for this 1,000 people to participate or to attend the meeting through VC, then there should be exclusion or there should be special provision for all the shareholders holding at least 2% shares, or for the promoters, for institutional investors, for KMPs, for chairman of the audit committee, chairman of the nomination remuneration committee. They should have special permission to attend the meeting, and they should not be counted, or they should not be counted in the 1,000 people. Very recently, just 2 days back, we all must have experienced this meeting. That is, of course, not EGM, but AGM of Reliance Industries, and that was done through this process. Ministry also gave a circular on 13th April 2020 to take care of the filing requirement under IPF, that is Investors Education and Protection Fund. Now the IPF needs different forms for filing by the corporates where the dividends has not been encashed or has not been claimed by the shareholders for last 7 years. But then the IPF authority has, MCA has come out with the relaxation of filing the various IPF forms. That is IPF 1, IPF 1A, IPF 2, IPF 4. IPF 4, that is basically about the transfer of shares, which has come under the Companies Act 2013. So transfer of shares all to this IPF authority. So also there is a relaxation for e-verification of claim in IPF 5. The reverse form, that is IPF 5, where the shareholders can still claim their dividend or the share that has been transferred to IPF by filing a form, that is IPF 5. So for all these forms, whether IPF 1, 2 that are to be filed by the company, or a e-verification of the claim that to be filed by the shareholders in IPF 5, all get relaxed, or the timeline get relaxed up to 30th September 2020. When ministry gave this particular or issued the circular for holding of EGM or transacting any item through postal ballot on 8th April 2020, then immediately one issue that was raised or one issue that was racked up, that how to send the notices for the meeting then. Because in any case, the notice needs to be sent to all the shareholders by sending it to their registered address. To take care of this particular aspect, another circular came on 13th April 2020, where the manner and mode for issuing the notice before convening any EGM was circulated. So all must be knowing that nowadays, particularly under section 108, there is a provision for holding the conducting the voting pattern through e-voting system. So here what it says, if the company has the provision of the transaction through e-voting, then the procedure will be by sending the notices only through electronic means and making provision for other shareholders who doesn't have their email addresses registered with the company, then the company must make some provision to ensure that the shareholders register their email addresses with the company, and the notices will only be sent through e-mode to those shareholders. So the notice, the manner and the mode of issuing the notice is only through e-process, and that came through a circular on 13th April 2020. A relaxation was also given to the new concept for the registration of independent directors. The independent directors, you all must be knowing now, any independent directors who are serving on the board of any company, they need to be registered in the data bank maintained by IICA, and that is a new initiative of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And in fact, the timeline for registration for all these independent directors was up to 31st May, which get extended up to 30th June, and it was further extended up to 30th September 2020. That means the independent directors who are already on the board of companies can still have time, that is up to 30th September 2020, to get their names registered in the data bank maintained by IICA. When the government put their thrust on the CSR fund to be spent by the corporates to meet the challenges, the COVID challenges, then corporates were not in a position to get a clear-cut idea about the spending of CSR funds or the different areas that are covered under the new circular by creating this PM relief fund, PM care fund. So another circular that was issued on 10th April 2020, which basically it was in the nature of a FAQ on spending of CSR fund, which was quite helpful for the companies, for the corporates to understand how to spend on the COVID activities and avail the relaxation or about the admissible expenditure on spending for CSR fund. So one thing that which we have already discussed, that contribution to PM Care Fund that qualify as CSR expenditure as per the circular with effect from 28th March 2020, means any contribution to PM Care Fund directly shall be an admissible CSR expenditure. But then it was clarified that any contribution to CM's relief fund or state relief fund for COVID-19 is not an admissible CSR expenditure. Means if corporates are if corporates are contributing in one hand to the PM Care Fund and another hand they are also contributing to the state relief fund or to the CM's relief fund, then the portion that is contributed to the PM Care Fund will only be considered as admissible CSR expenditure, but not the portion which have been contributed to the CM relief fund. Another effect in this FAQ, the ministry clarified that contribution to state disaster management authority. Although this contribution to CM relief fund is not eligible, but contribution to state disaster management authority for COVID-19 qualify as CSR expenditure. Spending of funds for various activities related to the COVID-19 under item 1 to 12 of the schedule 7 qualifies as CSR expenditure. That means all the kind of either medical benefits or any sanitization program or any developmental activities like creation of isolation center or any quarantine centers, all the kind of activities relating to the COVID, if falling in the scope that is given under item 1 to 12 of the schedule 7, then all these expenditures shall qualify as CSR expenditure. Payment of salary or wages, a question was raised whether any payment or salary or wages to employees or contract labor during this lockdown period qualify for CSR expenditure. The ministry clarified that no. Payment of salary, wages to employees or contract labor during lockdown period is a contractual obligation of the corporates and it is not qualifying as CSR expenditure. So also any payment of wages to any casual worker or daily worker, that also doesn't qualify as CSR expenditure. However, any ex gratia payment to the temporary or casual workers over and above wages for fighting the COVID-19 challenge is admissible as one-time CSR expenditure. So a limited coverage was given to ex gratia payment to temporary and casual workers, but again with two riders, that there should be an explicit declaration by the board for such ex gratia payment to temporary or casual worker, and that expenditure must be certified by the statutory auditor of the company. On these two certification, ex gratia payment will consider as one-time CSR expenditure. When the circular of 8th April and 13th April came for holding of extraordinary general meeting or transacting any item through postal ballot was issued, so also another circular came on 21st April 2020 for companies whose financial year were ending on, or in fact ended on 31st December 2019. As we know, as per the provisions under the Companies Act, companies need to hold their AGM within 6 months from the closure of their financial year. So for companies whose financial year ended on 31st December, they are supposed to hold AGM by 30th June 2020. But because of this COVID issue, ministry gave a circular by relaxing this time period up to 30th September 2020. So all these companies had now a relief to hold their AGM up to 30th September 2020. Thereafter, the Thereafter, the ministry came out with another circular on 5th May 2020 for holding of AGM through BC or through other audio-visual means, in the same line with holding of AGM or transacting any special business through postal ballot. So, with this circular, the circular of 5th May 2020, the time was relaxed, or the holding of AGM through VC or OAVM was relaxed for the calendar year 2020. But one very interesting part here is that although the holding of AGM was relaxed up to the calendar year 2020, but there is no extension of time for holding the AGM for all the companies whose financial year ended on 31st March 2020. Only one relaxation came for all the companies whose financial year ended on 31st December 2019, that is up to 30th September 2020. But for companies whose financial year ended on 31st March 2020, no relaxation has come yet. But the circular of 5th May say, if at all any company is holding AGM, then they can hold the AGM through the VC, video conferencing, or OAVM during the calendar year 2020. And the sending of physical copies of the financial statement, director's report, auditor's report has been dispensed with for the said period. That means that is up to calendar year 2020, which means all these documents, that is the financial statement, director report, or auditor report, can be sent to the shareholders only through e-mode, that is to their registered email ID. Likewise, if company is declaring dividend, then dividend will also be paid through electronic mode through NECS or NEFT or RTGS to the bank mandate registered with the company. And in case there is any difficulty in remitting the dividend to the shareholders' account, in case they have not registered their bank mandate with the company, then physical warrants can be dispatched to them only after normalization of postal services. We all must be knowing that that as per the provisions under the Companies Act, dividends once declared needs to be paid within 30 days from date of declaration. So there is a timeline for 30 days to dispatch or to make the payment of dividend. But due to this, by virtue of this circular of 5th May, now if the dividend could not be remitted to the shareholder through electronic mode, then the company can wait for the postal services to be normalized, and thereafter the physical warrants can be dispatched to them, and it will be not viewed as a non-compliance of the provisions of the Companies Act. AGM notice and the circular say that during this calendar year 2020, AGM notice should consider only ordinary business. We all know that again the provisions of the Companies Act has already given only 4 items as ordinary business to be transacted in the AGM, and any item other than these 4 items shall be considered as special business. The 4 ordinary items are like that adoption of the accounts, then retirement and reappointment of the directors, then declaration of dividend, and the appointment and fixing of remuneration of the statutory auditors. Basically, these are the 4 items that are considered as the ordinary business for any AGM. And now the circular of 5th May say that all companies should try to ensure that the AGM is only for the ordinary businesses and not for any special business unless it is unavoidable. That means if there is a pressing demand to take any special business to the AGM, then only with proper justification it will be taken to the AGM notice. Otherwise, every company should try to confine their AGM activity to the ordinary businesses only. Companies which are not required to provide e-voting facility. So 2 things, as I was indicating for the AGM, there are companies which are required to provide e-voting facility, basically, which are the companies? Basically, the companies which are listed company, they are supposed to or they are required to provide e-voting facility. So also any company having a shareholder base more than 1,000, they are also required to provide e-voting facility. So these are the two types of companies which are required to provide e-voting facility. Other companies, e-voting facility is only an optional. E-voting facility is optional. But now, what it says that if a company is not required to provide e-voting facility, may convene their meeting through video conferencing or WebM, provided the company on its record should have at least half of the addresses with email mandate, and that half of the shareholder base must be holding not less than 75% of the paid-up capital with voting rights. So clear-cut mandate that any company which are not required to provide the e-voting facility should ensure that at least half of the shareholder base are having email addresses registered with the company, and those half of the shareholder base are holding not less than 75% of the paid-up capital having voting rights. One interesting part here, the ministry has clarified that companies whose financial year is ending, in fact, that has ended on 31st March 2020, and if they are not in a position to hold AGM as per the framework, means basically companies whose financial year ended on 31st March 2020, they are supposed to hold their AGM by 30th September 2020. But in case they are unable to hold AGM as per the framework is for holding the meeting through BC or OABM, then they can write to ROC, their concerned ROC, for extension of time under Section 96 of the Companies Act. That means this COVID time is a proper ground or is a justifiable ground to seek extension of time from ROC to hold the AGM beyond the statutory period, that is 30th September 2020. One very interesting circular came on 11th May 2020. In fact, it has been seen all along that when the Ministry of Corporate Affairs gives some sort of relaxation, then the corresponding relaxation comes under the SEBI regulation. So when in 19 March, as we started with, that on 19 March, the first relaxation came from Minister of Corporate Affairs. Simultaneously and correspondingly, the relaxations started coming from SEBI side as well. But always the SEBI relaxations are followed, or in fact, the relaxation by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs are followed by relaxation from the SEBI. But here in one particular case, one circular came on 11th May 2020, which was after the SEBI circular of 6th May 2020. And what was the circular? The circular that came on 11th May 2020 is basically for companies who are planning or who are opening their right issue up to 30th July 2020. Then the relaxation is that if they are unable to dispatch notice under Section 62, then that shall not be considered as a violation of the provisions of the Act. Here, let me tell you very clearly and candidly, and you all must have seen this a news article on this particular circular, that it was indirectly benefited Reliance Industries, because Reliance Industries was coming with this with their right issue, and this particular circular is in line with SEBI's relaxation of 6th May to benefit Reliance to proceed with their right issue.
continue, sir.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, again there was some problem, but okay. So then there was circular on 15th June 2020, and where as I have already informed, the timeline that was given for the holding of EGM or postal ballot through BC or OAVM that get extended up to 30th 9 2020. As I was indicating, one very important aspect, in fact, that will be of interest of many professionals from all the three fraternity, that is CA or CS or CMA. This particular circular, that the circular came on 17th June 2020, when forms. Although it say that all the forms, belated forms can be filed, but two particular forms were excluded from the purview of CFSS scheme 2020. One, that is increase in the authorized capital, that is form SH7, that was excluded from the purview of CFSS scheme. So also the form that is relating to the charge, creation of charge or any modification of charge, because many of my professional colleagues are involved in this creation of charge. So this particular charge related circular is of course of everybody's interest to know. You all must be knowing that this Companies Amendment Act 2019, the charge period has been now restricted. Restricted means now there is no scope for the registration of the charge beyond a period of 120 days. That means earlier there was a scope to even register the charge up to 300 days, but now it's very clearly say that section 77 of the Companies Act very clearly say that the charge or that is CHG1 or CHG9 in case the charge is created for against the debentures, then these forms need to be filed within 30 days with a normal filing fee. Then any delayed beyond 30 days, then for another 30 days, the form can still be filed, but then there will be additional filing fee of 6 times of the normal filing fee. And if a company failed to file the forms in this 60 days time, and there is a delayed by more than 60 days, then that can go by another 60 days, another 60 days. That means precisely in total it will be 120 days. But then there will be the first 30 days delay, there will be additional filing fee of 6 times of the normal filing fee. And beyond that, there will be a ad valorem fee of 0.05% of the amount secured through the charge, subject to a maximum amount of 5 lakh rupees. And beyond 120 days, there is no scope at all for the company to get the charge documents registered with MCA. So having stated that, the CFSS scheme did not keep under its purview the belated filing of CHG1 or CHG9. But again, to accommodate these forms, particularly the charge creation or modification form, a circular came on 17 June 2020 with a different applicability. And the applicability say that the date of creation, if the, in fact the applicability is put in two different ways. One, that a date of creation or modification of charge is before 1st March 2020, but timeline for filing charge document had not expired as on 1/3/2020. So we need to first check the life of this charge document. If the charge was created before 1st March 2020, but if the document has already expired as on 1st March 2020, then the applicability or there will be non-applicability. This provision will not be applicable to those documents. And the second one say the applicability that the date of creation or modification that falls between 1st March 2020 to 30th September 2020. Basically, both days inclusive, basically a moratorium period. So we need to first see whether my charge document is falling in the first scenario, that is that before 1st March 2020, or it is falling in the second scenario, that is between the 1st March 2020 to 30th September 2020. And then it say that if it is falling on the first category, then the time period between 1st March 2020 till 30th September 2020 shall not be reckoned for counting of the number of days. The hints I gave you about the maximum day of 120 days, for reckoning that 120 days, the period between 1st March 2020 till 30th September 2020 shall not be reckoned for counting the number of days. And if the form CSG1 or CSG9 is not filed within such period, then the first day up to 29th February 2020 shall be reckoned as 1st October 2020. Like for example, a charge was created on 25th February 2020. Then we need to calculate the first 4 days, that is up to 29th February 2020, and then the 5th day will be 1st October 2020 for the purpose of counting the days. And for the other part, that is the second part, it say that the days between the date of creation of modification charge till 30th, if it is falling between 1st March 2020 to 30th September 2020, then the days between the date of creation of the charge till 30th September shall not be reckoned for counting of this 120 days. And in that case, the first day will be reckoned as 1st October 2020. Then the applicability, that in case the fees to be paid, in case in the first scenario it is going beyond that, period, then the fee scenarios are that if the document was filed on or before 30th September 2020, the fee in the scenario 1, I repeat, in the scenario 1, that is up to the 1st March 2020, in that scenario, if the CSG1 or CSG9 is filed on or before 30th September 2020, then the fee payable as on 29th February 2020 shall be charged. That means the normal filing fee, or in case there is additional up to, if the number is more than 30 days, then additional filing fee up to 29th February 2020. And if the form is filed after that, then the applicable fee shall be computed on the total number of days from creation of the charge till 29th February 2020 plus number of days from 1st October 2020 till the date of filing of the charge document. So this fee structure will be applicable for the scenario 1, category 1 of our discussion. And the second scenario is that if the form is filed before 30th September 2019, that means for the charge created between 1st March to 30th September 2020, and if the form was filed before 30th September 2020, then it will be the normal filing fee that will be applicable. But if the form was filed after that, that means after 30th September, then the first day of creation of the charge shall be 1st October 2020, and it will continue till the date of filing of the form, and the total number of days will be computed, will be calculated accordingly. So this scheme is here again the for the before issue of this circular. This particular circular is also not applicable for satisfaction of charge. So this is applicable only for creation or modification of charge, but not applicable to satisfaction of charge. And this is a beautiful scheme again from the MCA to regularize the charge related documents for creation or modification of charges. This part I covered, the fee scenario and the scheme, that is basically wherever it is applicable or where it is not applicable. Basically, MCA has so far given these relaxations for the corporates to meet their challenges during COVID time. Now we'll be going to the other part, that is, as I told you, the second segment that is applicable to the listed companies. For the listed companies, and what are the relaxations that has come from SEBI that we will be discussing now. The very first thing, or to before discussing or started discussing on the relaxations, let me put one particular thing, that is basically the listed entities to enjoy the status of continuous listing, they need to comply with the provisions or regulations under SEBI LODR regulation 2015. So SEBI LODR regulation keep all the provisions for the listed company to be declared or to enjoy the status of continuous listing, means where they will not be considered as a non-compliant company or violation of any listing provisions. So the first circular from SEBI side came on 19 March 2020. And as you can see, the different aspects that were covered under this circular for the listed entities, that listed entities are supposed to give a compliance certificate on the share transfer activity under Regulation 7. And this certificate is a half-yearly certificate, needs to be submitted to stock exchanges, to SEBI on half-yearly basis. And due date is 30th April. That means for March half-year ending, the due date was 30th April, but that get extended to 31st May 2020. Another relaxation from SEBI side under Regulation 13.3, where they need the listed company to submit the report on investor complaints on quarterly basis, and the due date again for March quarter ending was 21st April, but that was extended to 15th May 2020. A news must be knowing that a new regulation was introduced, that is Regulation 24A, where it says that secretarial compliance reports are to be given by every listed company. That was become effective from 1st April 2019, and basically this was a suggestion from the Kotak Mahindra committee for the secretarial compliance report, and it is a yearly compliance, and they are supposed to be this report. Compliance report was supposed to be given within 60 days from the completion of the year or from the end of the financial year. So original due date was 30th May, but that was extended to 30th June initially, but later on it was again further extended to 31st July 2020. The very popular report that needs for every listed company to comply with, that is Regulation 27 for corporate governance report, which is supposed to be or which is required to be given on quarterly basis. The due date is 15 days from end of quarter, that is like for March quarter it was 15 April, but it got extended to 15 May. Similarly, the shareholding pattern, where we come to know about the shareholding pattern of every company under Regulation 31. The company is supposed to submit it on quarterly basis within 21 days from end of the quarter. Likewise, for March quarter, it was 21st April was the due date, but again it get extended to 15th May. Financial results, the very important aspect, and which we were, in fact, every listed company kept watching and kept waiting for this one, that declaration of financial results. And because it was March ending, so two things were required to be complied. One is quarterly compliance for all the company whose financial year was not March ending, rather December ending, then March ending was a quarter. And for all the companies whose financial year is ending on 31st March, then it was a annual compliance. And the due date were accordingly, whoever, for companies for whom it was quarterly compliance, due date was 15 May. And for companies for whom it was annual compliance, the financial result, annual financial result was supposed to be given, then the due date was 30th May. But SEBI relaxed in both the cases the date up to 30th June. Means for annual compliance, it was almost 1 month of extension, and again, it was extended to 31st July 2020. That means many listed companies are still having the time, having the opportunity to have the board meeting to consider the audited financial results till 31st July 2020. Here, SEBI also, like MCA, gave the relaxation on the 24th March. This SEBI, 19th March. This SEBI also gave the relaxation for board meetings to be conducted or audit committee to be conducted. The original provisions under Regulation 17 or 18 say that every company should have at least 4 meetings in a year, and there should not be a gap of more than 120 days between 2 meetings. But now, due to this COVID challenge, this was exempted. The time gap was exempted between the 2 meetings, either held or to be held between 1st December 2019 till 30th June 2020. And this 30th June 2020 is now further extended to 31st July 2020. That means during the period 1st December 2019 till 31st July 2020, if 2 meetings, 2 board meeting or 2 audit committee have taken place with a gap of more than 220 days, still then it will not be viewed as a non-compliance as per the relaxation or as per the circular of 19 March. However, SEBI has put this particular condition that although there is a relaxation between for the time gap, but the company must ensure that the 4 meetings in a year need to take place or need to be done. Okay. So for certain companies which have issued non-convertible debenture or non-convertible redeemable preference shares or commercial papers, another circular came on 23rd March 2020. And as per this circular, the issuer company which have issued or proposing any public issue of debt securities are required. Basically, the requirement under the LODR regulation is that the companies which have either issued or there is a proposed public issue of debt securities, they need to give audited financials in the upper document, which should not be older by more than 6 months from date of prospectus. There is a relaxation in the provision that if the company is a compliant listed company, that means the company is already listed and now coming with any issue of NCD or NCRPS or commercial paper, then they can give unaudited financials with limited review report. There is a relaxation for the compliant company. But now, through this circular dated 23rd March 2020, the SEBI has given, or SEBI has stated that audited financial year as on 30th September 2019, which are supposed to be used till 31st March 2020 is extended up to 30th May 2020. That means for the year ending 31st March 2020, the last audited financial, that is considering the 6 month gap, was 30th September 2019. Means the company was supposed to was required to use the audited financial as on 30th September 2019, but now the time has extended from 31st March till 30th September, 30th May 2020. Again, for those companies, there was another relaxation came to the declaration of large corporates. All must be knowing now. SEBI in a circular on 26th November 2018 came out with a provision for declaration of large corporates, and basically who are going for long-term borrowing. So, and I will just throw some light on this particular aspect, that who are basically the large corporate. Then SEBI has defined that basically the company which are listed company and they have outstanding long-term loan. Long-term loan again has been defined that more than 1 year period, long-term loan of 100 crore or more, and the long-term loan is having a credit rating of AA or above from any rating agency. Then that particular organization, that particular company will be declared as a large corporate. And then the requirement was like this, that if any company is declared as a large corporate, then they need to make an initial disclosure that they are large corporate within 30 days from beginning of the financial year. Like now the financial year starting that 2021 means within 30 days, that is up to 30th April 2020, if any company has taken any loan which are where outstanding amount is more than 100 crore and the rating is AA or above, they need to make the initial disclosure by 30th April 2020. But now SEBI has extended this time period up to 30th June 2020. There is an annual and continual disclosure.
Sir, actually
Yes,
time
please.
is limited. Time is limited to 9 p.m. only. Sir, continue. Sir. Only
Okay.
5 minutes left.
Okay, then let me only touch upon the another. So large corporate, anyway, I will be sharing the slides. I'm sorry because there was some delay in the initial period.
Okay. Sure.
I'm skipping this portion because only one important aspect. Let me about the regulation 44.5. Again, it was a recommendation from the Kotak Mahindra committee, and that for all top 100 companies, as per their market capitalization, they are supposed to hold AGM within a period of 5 months from close of financial year, and accordingly they are supposed to hold AGM by 30th August. But now SEBI has extended the time up to 30th September. Likewise, again on recommendation of Kotak Mahindra committee, that there was a requirement for every company to hold at least one meeting of nomination and remuneration committee and stakeholder relationship committee or risk management committee annually, and the due date was 31st May 2020, but that has also been extended up to 30th June 2020. A very important aspect that there was supposed to make advertisement in newspapers about any such board meeting date and any other announcement, and but in now the newspaper advertisement has been dispensed with, means that has been exempted, that was exempted in fact till 30th June 2020. That means whoever is now convening any board meeting, they need to make newspaper advertisement, but up to 30th June the requirement was exempted. So companies were not required to make any advertisement of their board meeting where financials were supposed to be discussed. Then another important aspect that under the SEBI SAST regulation, that is substantial acquisition of shares and takeover regulation, the promoters and other shareholders holding more than 25% shares are supposed to give declaration in 7 working days time from closure of the financial year. But that has again been extended up to 1st June 2020. Okay, then let me, because the slides are also very slow, but anyway, let me discuss. And well, at least one very important circular I would like to discuss. That is the circular came on 20th May 2020, and basically it was an advisory from SEBI on disclosure of material impact on COVID-19 pandemic. And the disclosures, basically it is a requirement for a disclosure under Regulation 30 for all the listed companies to make a declaration or disclosure about the impact of COVID on business, the ability to maintain operation at their units, factories, or offices, and then if at all their units have closed down due to this COVID challenge, then the schedule for resumption of their operation, then impact of COVID on their capital, and financial, their profitability, liquidity, ability to serve the debt, then assets, internal financial control, supply chain, and demand for their product or services. So every listed company are supposed to give a disclosure or declaration on this particular aspect to the stock exchanges where their company's shares are or the securities are listed. Another circular came on 6th May, what I was hinting that about the right issue relaxation, that listed company if coming with a right issue up to 31st July, then they need not require to send physical notices to the shareholders. That was basically a provision to help out Reliance to come out with its right issue, and that and Reliance has, of course, they have come out successfully after this particular provision or after this relaxation. Another circular came on 15 July for listed companies which have issued any NCD or NCRPS or commercial papers on or after 1st July, and they are intending to list it by 31st July, then they can make use of their available financial, that is up to 31st December 2019. That means by using the available financial as of 31st December, the company can proceed with the listing of the securities by 31st July 2017. So basically, these are all from the SEBI side. From DP side, nothing much has come in fact, although we have covered it as our third segment. But only in one case, SEBI has come out with a relaxation that basically every listed company, listed CPSE, they are supposed to make a self-appraisal of their corporate governance compliances, and it is a quarterly requirement, and that is supposed to be sent to to DP by 15th of every quarter, 15th April, but that date has been extended to 15th May 2020. So that period is over, and in fact DP has not given much of relaxation so far during this COVID period. Means the corporates needs to follow only the relaxations from the ministry side, Ministry of Corporate Affairs side, and SEBI side if the company is a listed one. So that's all from me. So thanks for a patience hearing, and because due to some initial technical glitch, the presentation could not be made in time. Nevertheless, I am sharing this presentation to the Bhubaneswar chapter of CMA, so that it can be circulated to all the esteemed members. And I would be happy to take any queries or any questions in this regard for another 5 minutes. I am still open, and then we can Mr. Mukesh Niranjan Saab can go for concluding the meeting. Thank you, sir. Hello, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Now audible, sir. Now audible.
Okay. No, in fact, you are also not audible, sir. I could not hear what you are saying. But is it over now, sir? Or any questions I can answer?
Actually, I had given the lot of things, but it is not. It is audible or not, I don't know. But one question is that, 1 minute, sir. One question is there. Sir, 1 minute. Sir, one question, Ishwar Chandra Kundu. Sir, one question, can any company spend directly quarantine center is qualified for CSR expense?
Yes, because if you see that circular, what I was indicating, that what it say now under the CSR, that Schedule 7 precisely, that the entire 12 points that is covered under Schedule 7, 1 to 12, wherever the company is making any humble effort under 1 to 12 in any way, in some or other way, to mitigate or to meet the challenges of COVID, that will be qualified as a CSR expenditure. And so one of that is like what Mr. Kundu has put, that quarantine center, whether that expenditure is CSR expenditure, yes, it will be considered as a CSR expenditure.
Okay. Then another question. Sir, 1 minute. Then one question from SK Panigrahi, sir. What is the deadline to spend CSR expense for financial year 2019-20? What is the deadline to spend CSR expense for FY 2019-20?
Deadline I will check, sir, but it is still it is up to 31st July, but I will confirm, sir.
Okay. Then actually Antarjami sir said that it was July 2020. Okay.
Yeah, July, that's what I'm saying. It is July 2020. But I will check and confirm whether any further extension or it is still that 31st July.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for nice
Okay.
deliberation and
Okay, sir.
presentation.
And okay, sir. Thank you. And I will be sharing this presentation if you kindly give me, or I will send it to that mail ID, the regular mail
Chapter
ID.
mail
Sir.
ID, sir. Chapter mail ID. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay,
We
I will
will
send it.
share all the participants.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, thanks once again, sir, because I could not, in fact, that bottom thanks was not audible, but from my side also, it is in fact, it is a privilege for me to be with you all professionals, and you people gave me a opportunity to share my thoughts, my views on this through this webinar. So thank you, sir.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you once again to all the participants for nice participation. Thank you, sir. Now we declare the closure of the webinar. Thank you.
Okay.